Andrew, thank you so much. This is an honor. It's meant to be. Even the things in the past that didn't work out according to plan, they have their place in this larger tapestry called human existence. Hello, my peers. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for allowing me this little chance to share what I see as a future for the peer movement. And it's gonna be exciting. I tell you what. So let's go on a bit of a journey here together as we do zoom out and we see the bigger picture about what might be unfolding here, because we're parts of these fresh branches as they start to emerge. Yes, indeed, these fresh branches of the future involve entrepreneurial peer pioneers. Guys, what if I told you that the people with the highest unemployment rate are exactly who the world needs to navigate our AI future? Sneak preview. That's us. That's us. My thesis here is that peers have powerful strengths. These strengths are going to be profoundly needed by the world in the age of AI. And peer entrepreneurship is a pathway towards beautiful sustainability. I'm going to drop in a little document in the chat that will give you links and the information about a lot of the AI platforms that I use today, because we're empowering each other. And so I will drop that into the chat at the end, just in case you feel like you're missing out. Entrepreneurial, what on earth is that? It comes from the French, meaning initiating something new. While joined to its roots, we are initiating something new today. We have to be able to see the new. We have to be able to step into the new. So let's do this in 3 sections. Let's talk about a life that took the leap. Sneak preview, that's me. Then in section number 2, we'll explore our strengths together, and man, do we have some powerful strengths. And then in section number 3, we'll explore sustainability. How are we going to make this movement sustainable? How are we going to next level it? How are we going to light that fire that illuminates and warms the paths of those around us? Kicking off with one life that took the leap, and that's me. Hi guys, I am South African Josh, and my world cracked. It fell apart. I had to learn to adapt by traveling. First off, I've been to 24 countries, living and working in lots of them. I left home at 17, and I realized that society is just mutual consensus. It's just whatever we agree that it is. But my world really fell apart when I got my bipolar 1 diagnosis when I was in America. This led to 6 involuntary psychiatric hospitalizations. I was arrested twice. I blew $86,000 in my bipolar experience as the career ladders, as everything that I thought that I was building fell apart. And then everything changed when I became a peer support specialist. I worked with NAMI and I got my certification in 2016. And I contracted with Cal Mesa to help create the next version of the California Peer Support Specialist exam. Studied this stuff because I love it. I got my associates in entrepreneurship and I'm taking AI courses and the application of them. I got my bachelor's in psychology from the University of South Africa and my master's in theology from Fuller Theological Seminary in Pasadena in LA, fusing the worlds of psyche and spirit. Maybe they're 2 sides of the same coin. Psychology means the study of the soul. And then I was working for a TBS, Therapeutical Behavioral Services Program, and as a peer support specialist with NAMI, when 2 programs I was working with lost their contracts because of the shifting sands that people are talking about in government landscapes and in finances. I realized I couldn't build my solid foundations on these shifting sands. So I took a leap of faith. I left my full-time job working for NAMI as a peer support specialist to try out entrepreneurship, to try to see if I could see something new. It wasn't easy, but it was beautiful. And within the last 3 years, I've built Inspired Mind Mental Health LLC into a 6-figure business, which it has its good months and its bad months, but it's sustainable and it's growing. It's this little seed that I was nurturing and watering and grow, buddy, grow, little buddy, and now it's finally starting to produce fruit. Through the power of neurodiversity gifts, this message that we're not only disabled, these mental health conditions don't have to be disabled, but they can actually be gifts, has been brought to the world. So NAMI gave me the first shot to start talking about what I was passionate about. Probably a similar presentation to what Andrea and Campro said, not quite yet, at a Mental Health America conference. And it was discovered by UCSD, who was there, and they came alongside me and they provided support. And I've built this Neurodiversity Gifts platform into a digital platform with the help of the National Empowerment Center. And I run 17 groups of neurodiversity gifts in San Diego County with a couple of my friends, living a version of the dream. I guess I am living a version of the American dream with my wife and two daughters in San Diego. There's still some nightmare components, but it's very dreamlike. The line between the inner world and the outer world has thinned. So that's a little bit about me. Now let's talk about us. Let's talk about our strengths. And let's do this in 3 sections too, because the microcosm is a reflection of the macrocosm. Let's talk about these neurodiversity gifts of ours and how peer culture is really one of our strengths, one of the strengths that the world is going to need soon. And then our strength of adaptability, our flexibility. Because what's happened is that there's a current gap. Get it? There's a gap in the current in what we've discovered as peer power from reaching the world. We've tapped into this powerful community, this vibrant connection, and the world hasn't quite realized that it needs what we have yet. But I believe that the AI revolution can be that thing that connects us to the world in a way that sustains and feeds the world, and then the world can sustain and feed us into this synergy loop. We're going to bridge that current gap. And the way we're going to do that is through our neurodiversity gifts. Joining onto what came before us, I love that quote by Howie the Harp. Man, I wish I had got to meet Howie the Harp, where he said, crazy folk, as he calls us, are the most talented people in the galaxy. This is exactly what Gail was saying. Instead of diagnosing, locking up, and treating us, the world should recognize our true worth and support our talents, creativity, and sensitivity. Howie the Harp called us crazy folk. I call us the neurodiverse, which means to appreciate being wired slightly differently. Neurodiversity is my word for mental health conditions. It's a subset of biodiversity to say that the intelligence that set up this whole created order made us different for a reason. As Brother Sue just said, we've got to find our little niche. We've got to be able to tap into our currents and see ourselves from some different angles. It'll bring fresh color to our world. Do you know who else was colorful? Do you know who else left their marks etched into the space-time continuum? Do you recognize any of these names? All of these people, if they live today, would have been diagnosed with a mental health condition, or if they do live today, they are diagnosed. How about these? Or these guys? We've got scientists and politicians, we've got inventors, we've got singers, we've got comedians, we've got surfers, we've got painters. It covers all of Dr. Howard Gardner's multiple intelligences model. The neurodiverse community has richness inherent within us. And yes, these things are like fire. We do have to learn to navigate them. Now, fire, if it's out of control, can burn the house down. Fire, if it's under control and it's harnessed, that can illuminate the house, that can warm the house. And it can propel a rocket ship so that we see our world from different angles. We've got rich neurodiversity gifts right here in this room. And in the coming age, we're going to be able to actualize this potential. Vincent van Gogh only sold 2 paintings in his lifetime. One was to his brother. William Blake had like maybe 3 followers at the time. No one was getting his stuff, even though now everything he touched goes for over $1 million. He's like, all right, don't worry. I'm not writing for you guys. I'm writing for the future generations and the host of heavenly witnesses who's watching. And they were like, yeah, sure, Billy. Turns out he was absolutely right. Are we creating for the future generations right now? We are visionaries, the neurodiverse. Us peers have visionary imagination. We can access the unseen world. We can visualize things that aren't yet. A study of 300,000 people from 1973 to 2003 showed that people with bipolar, depression, and schizophrenia, as well as their undiagnosed siblings, were 35% more likely to engage in creative occupations. We are fueled by creativity, as Gail was saying. In her survey, the majority of people said creativity is super important to their wellness, and it is to us too. We can learn to harness those gifts. As the neurodiverse William Blake said, he said, what is now proved was once only imagined. It all starts in our imagination. Look around you. Every single thing that's in that room first existed in someone's imagination. Normally, they had to get the funding, they had to get the teams, they had to get the technology, they had to build it. But all of that is becoming much easier to do in this coming age. Because there is this current gap between our pure visionary imagination and reality, because we need capital and skill sets to actualize our vision. But not anymore. This peer power that we have within us, this peer power that the world doesn't know that it needs, is about to get actualized. Our neurodiversity gifts will be bridged to the world because of AI, which will bridge the gap in the capital and skills required to feed all sorts of color to our world, including peer culture, which we're sampling of a little bit here today. I love the emoji reactions, the words that you guys are putting in the chat, the support that we all have from another. Peer culture is the medicine. Our peer authenticity allows a soul connection that the world is going to crave soon. How far might this go? How much can our souls connect? Well, the Telepathy Tapes is a podcast that documents how some nonverbal autistic people appear to communicate telepathically, sharing details of inner experiences. We can see beyond the visible. We can also connect beyond the visible. It's scientific. These studies are led by Dr. Diane Powell, who's a psychiatrist exploring consciousness. We are wired, but our neurons are not only in our brain, they're also in our heart, and they're also in our gut. And our neurons transcend space and time. You ever picked up on vibes in the room? You can pick up on these vibrations. And what these people say in this experiment is that they meet on the hill. This is the phrase that the neurodiverse participants use for their telepathic meeting place where they connect. They say that dishonesty or inauthenticity would break their ability to connect. We can have a connection beyond what the world currently sees. And it's our authenticity, dropping those masks, that allows us to connect in these powerful and healing ways with society. The word personality comes from the Latin word persona, meaning a mask that we wear. A lot of us peers have been forced to drop the masks or they were smashed off us. And that authenticity can be a superpower, which allows for powerful connection. Indeed, we can connect to something that's larger than all of us, that's speaking into all of us. And we can see from the top of that hill, we can see what's coming because we've had to adapt to what's coming. And our adaptability is our final superpower under our strengths. When the winds of change have blown in our life, a reed that is too rigid in the field will snap, but one that flexes and bends will thrive. Not only that, but the wind will actually help it. It'll help to disperse its seeds. As peers, we've had to adapt as our world has fallen apart before. We've developed the superpower of flexibility. We can bend, we can mold. As the world is changing, we have this superpower that we can bring to the world. See, the problem is that while the neurodiverse have such profound gifts, there's a gap in monetizing them. The World Health Organization says that out of all the disabilities, mental health conditions are associated with the highest rates of unemployment. Not for long. About to change that. Mental health and the search for meaning, purpose, and connection is about to move far beyond the conventional mental health field. Because AI is going to create this seismic shift in our realities. And we can flex with the winds of change to thrive and to keep our peer movement sustainable. Yes, indeed, these three things are going to be the bridge between this peer power and the world that doesn't know yet that it needs it. How is that so? Well, our neurodiversity gifts are going to be made manifest to the world because AI will bridge the current gap in the capital and skills required. Vincent van Gogh had to spend a lifetime learning how to paint. We can take what's in our imagination and bring it into actuality like that. Nikola Tesla had to refine and define all these inventions, but we can create 3D models and 3D print these things like that. Peer culture. The world will realize that authentic community and connection is vital. It's the one thing that you can't replace. The machines can't provide this authentic connection. And adaptability. The world hasn't been forced yet to adapt so quickly and profoundly before. So yes, indeed, as peers, we have powerful strengths. And these strengths are going to be profoundly needed by the world in the age of AI. And peer entrepreneurship is a pathway towards beautiful sustainability. Let's talk about that here in our final section. Our sustainability. How are we going to not only keep this going, but make it thrive? Again, we'll do this in 3 sections. let's talk about the current gap that AI can fill for us peers. And then the coming gap that we will fill for the world. And then in the third section, let's have some practical applications. How might AI be applied to the peer field, to your life? How can it get rid of all the busy work and allow you to articulate your voice and make those deep connections, which is what we're so gifted at? Well, this is a quick clip from the CEO of Google talking about the impact of AI. It's only about 10 seconds. Listen to this.
I've said this before, AI is one of the most profound things we are working on humanity, as humanity. It's more profound than fire or electricity or any of the other bigger things we have worked on.
Wait, what? More profound than fire and electricity? How did fire change our mental health? How did electricity change our mental health, let alone social media, but the fluorescent light bulb, staying awake at different times? This is more profound than that. We're on the cusp of something huge. And it's happening faster than ever. These are the previous revolutions and economic epochs that have hit humanity. The agricultural age took 10,000 years. But then the next one, the industrial age, was only about 200 years. And we can see that each of these ages is accelerating. It's getting faster and faster. We're in the information age, and then currently the AI age is only 5 years old. These things are coming faster. That superpower of adaptability, that's exactly what we're going to need. And that's exactly what the world is going to need. Or what about how long it took various technologies to reach 1/4 of the world's population? Well, electricity took 46 years to reach 1/4 of the world's population. The internet, 7 years. Netflix, 3.5 years. Facebook, 10 months. Instagram, 2.5 months. And ChatGPT, 5 days. Guys, it's coming fast. And it's coming now. And this can be an advantage for our peer community. See, each evolution and revolution is coming quicker and quicker. We can't create existential and financial wealth in the past era and mindset. Einstein said, you can't solve a problem on the same level it's created at. We've got to, as Wayne Gretzky said, skate to where the puck is going to be, not where it has been. Are we using older models to try to move the peer movement forward where really us visionaries, we can see where it's going to be? And it's going to be in a profound place that the world is going to need. We're going to have to adapt. Newspapers that didn't adapt to the digital age died out. They're like, no, we're still going to keep doing the things that we've always done. It didn't work out. We have to flex. Bill Gates, overnight, billionaire with Windows. Nah, he started programming in 1968. He saw what was coming. Same thing with NVIDIA stock. NVIDIA just blew up all of a sudden. No, Jensen Huang had been creating GPUs, graphics processing units, for decades because he saw the coming AI revolution. We can step into our pure visionary abilities and build the future now. We can do that now. We can take what's in our imagination and actualize it together. For example, when I was 5150'd or psychiatrically hospitalized against my will 6 times, kind of sucked. I mean, the community aspect was cool, but we were in these sterile buildings. It was not anything that was good or conducive to mental health. What if we had an alternative to that? What if AI could allow us to visualize, talk about alternatives, possible alternatives to 5150 or involuntary psychiatric hospitalizations? What if AI could also break these down into architectural drawings and actualize these things for us? The line between imagination and reality is thinning. The next time that someone gets 5150'd, how about they go to nature? How about they tap into these connected hubs of thriving where I literally was given no therapy. I literally wasn't connected to any of the peer movements in my hospitalization. What if these places were thriving places instead, where each person had their kind of privacy? I had to share a room with someone else who was going through a crisis. That's not conducive to good mental health. But these private pods were connected to a communal space. And then these larger communal spaces were connected to these central hubs. It's possible, guys. It's not that far to be able to 3D print this stuff. What if in mental health environments, we could create immersive virtual reality experiences and tap into the astronaut overview effect, which has been psychologically proven to have good effects on our well-being? or go in on these underwater adventures, tapping into wellness? What if instead of just waiting for the meds to kick in, we could be trained in the school for the gifted, learning how to harness our gifts, learning how to know that we have these unique potentialities to bring to the world, and then empowered to bring this to the world through cultural synergy. People are going to need this soon. We can create the new ecosystem so that it's ready when society needs it, which will likely be soon. Because so much of the meaning and purpose that people have found so far has been in their jobs. They built their identity on these jobs. But the workplace is going to metamorphosize. This is a video that was released by Figure AI yesterday. Humanoid robotics is coming. It's coming to make our lives easier, but it's also coming for a lot of jobs. But they're not going to be able to facilitate peer support groups. They haven't had any lived experience. So as people's jobs change, they're going to need our peer support. Even though there's likely to be universal basic income, or maybe even universal abundant income, they're still going to need that human connection. And if you take a look, jobs have already hugely been impacted by the release of ChatGPT. And it's accelerating. It's coming, and it's coming now. As one AI genius said, AI could be the best or worst thing that's ever happened to humanity. But it's coming regardless of how we feel. And so knowledge is power. I realize we might feel differently about AI in this room, but the AI age is upon us right now. And we can adapt. We can learn to harness its ability to help our peer movement. So what does AI do well, and what does it not do so well? What it does well is amplifies our peer voices. It helps us to articulate and spread our messages, just like in Gail's time, the talent shows did, or the art did, the pillowcases did. It reduces administrative burden, which allows for more time for the real magic, for the actual support. It enables entrepreneurship, lowering the barrier to starting businesses. And it democratizes access to tools. It levels the playing field with traditional providers. Talk about empowerment, the power is in our hand right now. And yet AI should never replace human connection and empathy. It just can't. It shouldn't replace lived experience wisdom, nor crisis intervention decision-making, or therapeutic relationships. Rapport is one of the biggest therapeutic predictors of success. So here's a key message for us. AI doesn't replace peers, it amplifies us. It handles the tasks machines do well, freeing us to do what only humans can do, which is connect, heal, and transform together. Some people are worried this is going to make us lame or like not good at things, but did the calculator make us worse at math as a species, or did it make us better when we replaced Roman numerals with new forms of adding? Did the electric guitar ruin music? Did the invention of the camera ruin the creativity of the artist or painter? No, it allowed us to create on a different level. And as these new tools come into our hands, it's going to allow us to see from a higher perspective. It's going to fill this gap that the world is going to need really soon. Us as peers can fill that gap, because our skill sets of visionary imagination, authentic culture, and adaptability is exactly what the world is about to need. More than one Fortune 500 AI leader says that there's about to be a crisis of meaning and purpose when universal basic income hits. At the moment, people are so motivated by that carrot that dangles in front of them of money. Okay, I'll go to work. But then when you're at work, you actually make the connections. You feel like you're accomplishing stuff. You've got that meaning and that purpose. If we're all getting universal basic income, what does any of it mean? Us peers have navigated meaning and purpose before. A number of these people say that it's going to lead to something like a spiritual renaissance. We're going to ask bigger questions than ever before. And so we can bring our peer expertise to the world far beyond the mental health field. Who's got a mind? Everyone's got a mind. And so those of us who've navigated the frontiers of our mind are going to have something really valuable to give back. So finally, let's wrap it up here with some practical applications that really do join to the roots of the early peer movement. The early peer movement used writing and legislation to fund their cause. How can we do the same thing right now? The early peer movement created employment that spreads holistic wellness. How can we do the same thing right now? The early peer movement used art and music to amplify their voice. How can we do the same thing right now? Let's watch these quick little clips I created talking to each of those different domains. Firstly, using writing and legislation to fund their cause, we can eliminate the busy work. So much of my day used to be taken up with just the busy work. This can free us to do what only humans can do. So for example, we can convert natural speech into clinical notes. This is something that I created with Claude. It's a simple vibe code where I would just talk about how I met with my peer support participant, speak in my natural language, and then what it'll do is it'll automatically turn it into a clinical note on the right there. You can have little shortcuts, and you can quickly add short interventions, like connecting them to food resources or crisis planning, peer support groups. And that would save us so much time. Notes can be a real administrative burden. There I just added food and SNAP assistant and a mental health clinic referral. And then I click generate clinical notes, and there it is. Time to do other stuff. We can convert slides to clinical group notes. So I have neurodiversity gifts. All I do for my notes now is copy the introductory question, the first slide, and the final slide. And then I put it into Claude, into a project that I've trained, and voila, it produces my clinical note for me. And then obviously it's all confidential, and I customize the individual responses, but how long would it have taken me to type all that out? I used to do that, guys. It also creates responses. And so the responses can also be copy and pasted. What about grant writing? Okay, I took a lot of time to apply to this John Templeton Foundation grant, and I even had UCSD support. Hours and hours and hours. Didn't even get past the first round. This has been trained in a company's dynamics and all of their figures, all of their staffing, and it customizes each of the responses to what the Templeton Foundation wants so that you can easily submit it. And finally, what about creating a PowerPoint presentation? This is ChatGPT 5 in its agent mode. I just asked it to create a PowerPoint presentation for this, and the strength and sustainability PowerPoint presentation. As you can see, mine's a lot better, but it did a decent job. It allows us to communicate information, and it even came up with these visuals, which I thought was cool. We can indeed eliminate busy work, and I will drop some of these into the chat afterwards in a document. The second category is that the peer movement in the beginning created employment opportunity that spreads holistic wellness. We can do the same thing, creating job positions that create win-win solutions. For example, we can create apps that connect us to ourselves. This is a program called Lovable. And I just spoke into it and I said, why don't we create a gentle, recovery-centered companion app that can allow us to have daily affirmations, that can remember cool things that people have said about us, and that can connect to others, and boom, it spun this up. What you can do is you can tap into daily affirmations, the love vault, where things that people have said that are good about you are saved, and to do guided practices too. Under daily affirmations, it did all of this. Click personal growth. What does it have to say? Every experience teaches me something valuable about myself. Well, that's about right. I'm constantly evolving and becoming more authentic. Yes, we are. Then what about the love vault? I actually used to do this on my iPhone, where if people said compliments to me, I'd store them in a particular app in case I get depressed, and then I would read those again. But here, this love vault stored my message from Sarah. Your kindness today changed my entire outlook. Thank you for being such a bright light in this world. And what about apps that connect us to each other? Let's take that to another level. What if we created an app that is a global synchronicity tracker? Andrea shared about how synchronicities brought us together, and so many of us in this room recognize that there's something larger going on. This is the sync map, where people can record their synchronicities, and it can map them onto a global scale so that we can see where they're happening in the world and follow them like weather phenomena. Where are these things happening? How does it connect to us? And is there about to be a cloud of synchronicity washing over us where we happen to be? We can also record our synchronicities and the dream journal, which can align to current events, or our dreams transcending the space-time continuum too. Are we able to see things that might happen? And how can we help with that? How can we come alongside humanity and help with that? And then finally, the early peer movement used art and music to amplify our voice. We can do the same thing now by making the invisible visible. Those ideas that you have in your imagination. Like, what if we wanted to create a Vincent van Gogh Starry, Starry Night for the peer movement in 2025? Forget having to spend all that money on paint. Forget having to take the years of lessons. Bam, we can create beautiful art that first existed in our imagination. Or what if we wanted to create videos? Pretend we wanted to create one about the peer movement. And we can create using Sora, where that sap, that water that Devin was talking about, is pocketed in all these individual experiences which connect to a tree. This is the second version of it because I was enjoying it. Each of these is different memories on our collective tree. What if we wanted to connect and collect peer stories and collect all of our collective wisdom? This was something I vibe coded with Claude, and people are adding their stories to this. I added 3 fictional stories, although they're kind of true as well. And then you can see that it collected all 3 of those stories. Not only that, but it synthesized the stories. What are the current themes? What are the commonalities? What are the trunks that connect to the branches? Community as transformer. Economic barriers dissolved through entrepreneurship. Alternative consciousness as an asset. We don't need fixing. The system needs expanding. And ultimately, what's the call to action? We don't need fixing. We are the fix. Or this. I guide 2 of these men's groups, peer support men's groups throughout the week, where we turn our stories into comic books and music. The song that's about to come on. We made this.
Soul survivors rise up, always staying ready. My therapist told me I'm a soul survivor. I'm feeling guilty even though I was true, only want to revive her. Abandoning the 6-figure business just to work on 5. I'm going to treat and to keep myself in the 3rd dimension, trying to find her. The guilt is taking over me, so I try to keep on going for my mother's grief. The present is taking over me, trying not to be 6 feet under like my homies be. Assalamu alaikum, peace be with my pain. Washing out the poison, dancing in the rain.
Wow, the peer movement moved. And we can do the same thing right now, and that's exactly what we're doing right now. Join us for a follow-up on this on January 9th, 2026, because I tell you what, us peers have powerful strengths, and these strengths are going to be profoundly needed by the world in the age of AI. And peer entrepreneurship is a pathway towards beautiful sustainability. Nikola Tesla was ahead of his time. Vincent van Gogh was ahead of his time. But what's different about us is that we have each other. We're able to connect our dots together to form a new world, to form a beautiful picture of the grand narrative, which is exactly what we're going to do now. We're not just talking, we're going to demonstrate that. So let's move into our next activity where we join our collective gifts together.